Good morning, I hope everyone's well today, thank you for watching. It seems that the vultures are circling and Keir Starmer, Tutti Keir, the worst Prime Minister in British history, is soon to be ousted from political office. He's been abroad, and he's still abroad now, and the reason is he's so unpopular at home with his own MPs, with the entire Parliament, the press, the media have all turned on him, and the wider British electorate, that he figures he's more popular abroad than he is at home. Based on these pictures at the NATO summit today, I don't actually think that's true. They hate him just as much as anybody else, and that's the reality of the situation. Britain is no longer a trusted ally to the United States. They didn't brief the United Kingdom on any of the developments in the Middle East referring to the conflict between Israel and Iran. That's probably because his cabinet is largely sympathetic to Iran and not Israel and the United States. And the Trump allies and Netanyahu, they probably know all about this. Now, for my money, my personal point of view, I largely don't really care about the Middle East conflict. It's not really my concern. If I was forced to pick a side, I would pick, but I'd rather be concerned about our domestic politics. So that's my view on that particular point. The situation is, the Prime Minister goes to a war footing and he puts out spin and lies about we need to be on a war footing, we need to prepare to be invaded by China of all people in the United Kingdom. The strategy warned that instances of China's espionage interference in our democracy and undermining our economic security have increased in recent years. Yeah. Which China is he talking about? Is he talking about the communists, or is he talking about Taiwan? It's not really clear. They just say China. Be specific. Be very, very specific in your language, alright? Because if you're talking about the communists, you're on their side. You're happy to import their slave-made solar panels for our green projects, and you're happy to give them a big, huge embassy in London, so they're clearly not that big of an enemy, are they, Keir? Now, when is he going to go? That's the thing. His own MPs want him gone, and as I've always said on my channel, this is what people don't understand. MPs hold all the power in Parliament. The only thing that a political party is good for is brand recognition, if you're not your own brand, like Rupert Lowe, or funding. So that's the only reason that they stay loyal to Labour, is because they want to be MPs. They're that arrogant. When we see who's likely to replace Keir Starmer, it's going to be Angela Rayner, and based on her performance recently in Prime Minister's Questions, which I'm going to play a short clip from now, it's not hopeful. It's really not hopeful for any of us. We're all going to be screwed. Let's just have a look at this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is a pleasure to stand opposite the Right Honourable Lady. Despite what many may think, we have a great deal in common, not least that we both viscerally disagree with the Chancellor's tax policy. And it is great to see the Right Honourable Lady standing in temporarily for the Prime Minister for the second week running, although I know there are many sitting behind her who wish this was a permanent arrangement. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, you will find many of their names amongst the 122 who've signed up to oppose the government's welfare bill. They say that the bill is dangerously rushed and ill thought through. So can the Right Honourable Lady explain why she thinks that she is right and 122 of her own colleagues are wrong?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, first of all, Mr. Speaker, it's nice to face the latest wannabe.
Right, first of all, Ange, those glasses aren't convincing anybody. You're not very bright. You don't come across as very bright. Let's continue. And you're not representative of the North either. You left school with no qualifications, and you're not something to envy, in my opinion. You're really not. I'm from a council estate, I'm working class, and I don't aspire to be like you, and I don't think I ever would. So if this is what the Labour Party thinks that the Northerners aspire to be, you're very much mistaken, you're very much wrong on that point.
I'll tell the Right Honourable Member why we're pressing ahead with our reforms, and that is because we're investing £1 billion into tailored employment support, a right to try to help more people back into work, and ending reassessments for the most severely disabled who will never be able to work. Mr Speaker, we won't walk away and stand by and abandon millions of people trapped in the failing system, left behind by him and his colleagues.
Let's talk about the failing system for a moment, alright. The UK is in recession. The growth that we have in the economy, if you can call it growth, is outstripped by inflation. So those metrics may be measured separately. That's a classic example of what is known in the movie industry as Hollywood accounting. You keep one figure over there, you keep one figure over there, know the twain shall meet, and you can fool people and you can convince people that you've got growth when you haven't got growth. The reason why we haven't got growth in the United Kingdom is because it's so tightly regulated you can't actually do anything. Why do you think HS2 took so long and accomplished nothing? Why do you think you get all of these projects that are announced, like the Northern Powerhouse and all of this nonsense? That was announced under David Cameron. That never came to fruition. The great northern cities, Liverpool, Leeds, Sheffield, I'm sure there's another one, Manchester, there we go, always forget Manchester. They get nothing. London gets everything. Alright? And let's not even talk about Glasgow and Edinburgh. They need funding as well. All of the funding is tied up with central government. The only thing that needs to be devolved is planning regulations. Nothing else. That's what you need. You need growth and you need tax incentives. And what is that? That's tax cuts. That's how you grow an economy. It's not rocket science. I'm not a millionaire, I'm not a billionaire, I wouldn't benefit from any of these policies directly, but I know finance. If taxes are too high, people leave. It's pretty simple, it's not rocket science. But to the ideology of the left and the communists and the Marxists, they can't see this. All they can see is welfare, 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 and it's a disgrace, and I'm calling that nonsense out. We are not all communists in the north. And then, the reply, by the way, she didn't even answer the question about the rebellion. This is the answer.
Well, Mr Speaker, the Right Honourable Lady completely sidestepped my question. She can't even defend her own government's policy. Can she at least assure the House that the vote on Tuesday will actually go ahead?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, I don't know if he sort of listened to what I said because I was reading off the script, but what I can tell him, and I don't need a script, we will go ahead on Tuesday.
Well, there you have it, Mr Speaker. There will be a vote in this House on Tuesday on the welfare bill, although many on the backbenches could be forgiven for thinking they've heard this before with the winter fuel payment, where they were marched up the hill, and we all know where that story ended.
So there you have it. The welfare vote is going ahead on Tuesday. However, a week is a long time in politics, and since Prime Minister's questions today, this happened. Keir Starmer has been forced into another U-turn. He's going to have to water down his plan to welfare reforms to keep his backbenchers happy. There's over 120 MPs at the last count that are looking to rebel against the Prime Minister, rightly or wrongly. What it says to me is that the leftists in the Labour governments are more... They have the party's ear, unlike the people in the Tory party that may be considered based. That's why anyone in the Tory party that was based, like Suella Braverman or Dominic Raab, they were sidelined. They were booted out of office, essentially, and they had to become backbenchers because they disagreed with government policy. The opposite is true with the Labour Party by the look of it, where the leftists are greater in number, and they are holding Keir Starmer's feet to the fire. Everybody knows that welfare needs to be cut in the United Kingdom. We've got the three largest expenditures in the UK at the moment are the welfare bill, the debt interest repayments for the debt. That's just to service the debt. That's not even repaying the debt down. And the NHS. Those are the three biggest expenditures on the balance sheets. Okay, we're spending far too much, and we need to cut. It's as simple as that. What we're going to get under this Labour government when Keir Starmer is replaced is more of the same. It's going to be painful. It's going to be dire. People are going to be celebrating, and they think that Keir Starmer's going to be gone, and they're going to be thrilled. They're going to be over the moon. Be afraid. Be very afraid about what's coming. Do you want Rayner as Prime Minister? Do you want Rachel Reeves as Prime Minister? Do you want West Streeting? Good God. God help us all. Anyway, if you like this video, give me a like, give me a share, give me a subscribe. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next one.